Hello, everyone, and welcome back to True Self Stylist.
You're going to go through times where you fail. You're going to go through times where it's hard or you're demotivated or
So, what actually kept you motivated?
it's not about yourself anymore. It's about you're doing this for a reason. You're doing this to protect.
We don't have to be perfect. We just need to start.
From strangers, I got a lot of hate, especially online. Because
So, do you get enough, let's say, of protein, vitamins?
I know plenty of people, and it's definitely a common problem in women, the iron deficiency. I know plenty of people who eat everything, who are omnivore, and they still have iron deficiency.
And I'm really happy to be joined by Emmanuel today and dive into fascinating world of veganism. Emmanuel is a Dubai-based vegan wellness advocate, qualified personal trainer and nutritionist. She's also an Adidas athlete, and I am really excited about this conversation, and I hope you will like it too. Do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and let's get into it.
I started in marketing and communications and PR, actually. That's where I started my working journey and quickly realized that it wasn't for me, although I've got some really good skills that I've learned and can carry over, which is great. But yeah, that's pretty much me. I love wellness. I love especially plant-based wellness. I'm a nutritionist. I help women feel better in their bodies. I help them get, their dream body, whether that's aesthetics or whether that's energy levels. And that's all done for me through a plant-based diet and learning more about nutrition. And yeah, I love, nature. I love animals. So I think it wrapped it up quite well for me.
Amazing. For listeners who might be not familiar, how do you define veganism and what actually inspired you to adopt this lifestyle?
Yeah, so veganism is actually different from a vegan lifestyle is different from a plant-based lifestyle in the sense that a vegan lifestyle focuses on excluding any product or thing that has caused an animal suffering or comes from an animal. So whether it's for suffering or not, if you live a vegan lifestyle, you refrain from using any animal products. And a plant-based lifestyle, and they're often mixed up, is where you fuel your body mainly with plants. But you can have a plant-based lifestyle and not be vegan. So there's so many terms and things that can get a little bit confusing. But in terms of what inspired me to be vegan was I trained as a personal trainer a long time ago. I've always been very interested in fitness and health. And I really felt like I wanted to take control of my body. So I really felt I wanted to learn about health. I wanted to learn about fitness. I wanted to learn about nutrition. And I went through the stage of, honestly, I'll be very honest with you. I went through the stage of being a typical gym bro. Like I would work out, I would lift weight, I would eat so much protein, like animal protein, beef, chicken, you name it. And then I started learning about plant-based lifestyle and also vegan lifestyle. And then I realized the power of plants. I realized the damage that I was creating by living this lifestyle and the damage not just to myself, but to the environment and animals and the amount of suffering I was causing. And through the transition, I just honestly fell in love with being a vegan and understanding where my food comes from, understanding how the earth works, understanding how food is made, manufactured and delivered to us. It's not just magically that it appears in a supermarket. And learning about that process really humbles you, makes you feel a bit more part of the earth and the planet. And I just wanted to have that level of education where I could take control and understand what was good for me, what was good for the environment, and what I could do to really optimize my health.
Thank you so much for sharing. You know, what I hear a lot from people is that switching to veganism or let's say plant-based diet is really difficult. It takes a lot of time. It's really overwhelming. Since you've been through this journey, how did you find it?
I think, I have quite a helpful personality type. So if I do something, I'm pretty cold turkey. If I decide I'm going to do something, I will do it and that's fine. But I understand that for other people, we're all different. It can be challenging to understand what you're going to do. So let's talk about other people. Let's not talk about necessarily my transition because my transition was a lot easier than what other people will face. But a problem that people come across is that they try to go 0 to 100. And as we just said, everyone's different. Everyone's personality types is different. So when you try to take exactly what you're currently doing and you implement this idealistic way of life, you're setting yourself up for failure. And this is what I teach my clients and the people that I work with is that in order to succeed long term, you really want to make it a lifestyle. So you really want to do step by step by step so that it becomes consistent and it becomes a part of your routine. So it's not like you're doing something totally different than what you were doing yesterday. So this is definitely a common struggle. Another one is, and it's kind of tied to this, is that if you are so used to eating the same things every single day, your chicken, your veg, your cheese, whatever it is, it can be very hard to cook with new ingredients. It can be very hard to know what you should be eating or what goes well with what or how much of this you should have. And so I think there's definitely a learning period of discovering new foods, and you need to build in time for that. You need to discover, and you need to not put pressure on yourself to just immediately be able to switch into this new lifestyle. So for a lot of people, transitioning gently and gradually is really beneficial and will help you sustain this lifestyle and your health longer, rather than trying to do too much and then falling off the bandwagon and then feeling like a failure and then saying, I can't do that, it's too hard. It's all about gradual steps.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think it actually applies to so many other things. I see a lot of similarity with sports when you start, engaging more into sport activities. You just literally, like you said, want to go from 0 to 100. And then, after a few weeks, you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't survive.
100%. So sports, fitness, same thing. If you have a goal, you think that, you start and it's going to be this upward trajectory and then the goal's there. You can see it's going to be the smooth, easy ride. You just need to commit. But the reality is that it's very much like this. Like, yes, there's an upward trajectory, but you're going to go through times where you fail. You're going to go through times where it's hard or you're demotivated or, it's the same with anything in life. It's not a simple journey. And that's what makes it so great, because there's so much learning through many failures.
Yeah, absolutely. You have also mentioned about motivation. So what actually kept you motivated when you were transitioning to this new lifestyle? I know that might be a few years ago, but if you remember about that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I remember. I've been vegan since 2017. So what is that now? Almost 7-8 years now. Sorry, I had to do that. What kept me motivated, I would say, is I didn't necessarily make it about me. I think when you make everything about yourself, in not just the way you eat, but in life, it's very hard to stay motivated because there's so much more and something so much bigger than you. So if you go about it thinking like, this is all about me, like sometimes your motivation wanes and sometimes you forget and all these things. I think if you make it about being part of something else, so being part of the planet, taking responsibility for your consumption and your carbon footprint and whether you're causing suffering or whether you're helping the planet, I think that gives you so much of a reason. And that was definitely my reason, is that, I saw, as we went back before, like I saw how food was made. I didn't really give much thought to it. I grew up in a family that loved food. Food was the love language, and I never really questioned it. I never really questioned where it came from. But then when I learned, I realized that I'm part of something so much bigger, and I don't want to be the reason that we're having problems with the planet and deforestation. I don't want to be the reason that, animals are killed. I don't need to do that. So wasn't in alignment with my values. And even to this day, like, I'll be honest, there's times where I'm like, I'm out or I'm traveling and I'll be like, it's so much easier not to be vegan. Like it really is. But then you remember your reason why, and that just trumps everything else about yourself. It's not about yourself anymore. It's about, you're doing this for a reason. You're doing this to protect the planet. You're doing this to minimize the suffering as much as you can. And I think connecting with that frequently is really important.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you touched upon sustainability and how our actions can actually influence not only our health, our well-being, but it's actually, going beyond that. We're talking about planets, the generations to come. Yeah. So, and I feel like not a lot of people recognize that there is this connection between, vegan lifestyle or plant-based lifestyle and sustainability in general. And especially, well, I work in sustainable fashion and I see that sometimes there is, really, there is a great gap because people do not really connect the dots that if you, for example, choose vegan fabric, it's basically like you decide not to eat meat, So it definitely goes beyond just food. And what about you? Do you only focus on, what you consume on a daily basis, or it goes beyond that? For example, choosing clothes that are also vegan.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it kind of goes back to what we were saying in the beginning about the difference between a plant-based lifestyle and a vegan lifestyle. For me, I'll never pretend that I'm perfect. And I think that's why vegans have this bad reputation, is because a lot of the time we pretend that, we have it all figured out and we do everything perfect and everything. And I think that's the problem. Listen, in terms of my nutrition and my food, like I'm 100% vegan. There's no ifs or buts. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it properly. With regards to lifestyle as well, I don't wear leather. I don't feel good about, for me, it's quite contradictory. I can't walk around saying I'm vegan, but at the same time, I'm carrying a handbag that's made out of a baby cow. Like for me, it just doesn't sit well. I don't wear leather. I don't wear silk. I don't wear wool, anything like that. But you're always learning more. So for example, like you say, going back to sustainable fashion, the world is a big circle. So, in terms of, even if I'm not wearing something that is technically, has an animal product, if I'm just buying something from, I don't know, H&M or whatever it is, if I wear that and I'm like, great, it's vegan, it's not made from an animal, it's fast fashion. So I throw it out, it ends up in a landfill or ends up in the ocean. And then because it's partly plastic, it doesn't break down. And then it ends up, I don't know, suffocating a turtle or something. Like, it's this, and you know more about this than anyone, but like, you really have to think of the bigger picture. Like, it's not just about wearing things that are vegan or don't contain animal products. It's about looking at the whole environment. Is what I'm wearing going to contribute negatively to the environment? If it is, I try my best to stay clear of it. So of course, I don't touch these fast fashion places like Shein. And honestly, I don't know many of the other brands, but I don't really do it. I'm not perfect, like I said in the beginning. So I will still shop from places that, some high street brands. I'm trying my best to learn more about it. And I'm trying my best to invest in pieces that are long-term sustainable and are good for the environment, or at least not damaging. But I'm still learning. So still a learning journey for me. And I really try to minimize the amount that I buy, especially if I'm only going to wear it once, I won't buy it. So, I think that there's so much to learn. There's so much that companies choose not to disclose, which is tricky because you have to get around it. But I try to, and again, I'm not perfect. I still take vacations. I still go on planes, and I know there's a big, carbon problem there. And, I have a car and all of these things, but I kind of have comfort in the fact that at least I'm doing something, and at least I'm trying to, and I'm aware, so that, I can make better choices when I have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, that's amazing what you said. And it totally resonates with me. We don't have to be perfect. We just need to start. And, just to do something, just to be an example, actually. Yeah. And then I think slowly we will make the right choices that will align better with our values.
Need people in different segments of sustainability. So, for example, we need people who are plant-based. We need people like you who are in sustainable fashion, because as people, we're not expected to know everything. We need leaders and people who are able to tell us, oh, do you know what's in your clothes? Or maybe you should consider using this cotton or this material. And I think it's really important. And I really enjoy learning from different people in the sustainability field, because they know things that I don't. And then it helps me make better decisions. So it's really good to have different people who specialize in different areas.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. But there are also, like you said, so many things to be considered. What I personally encourage is to invest in better pieces, probably having fewer pieces in your wardrobe, and that will be absolutely fine. But you are aware that each item that you add to your wardrobe resonates with your values, in line with your personal lifestyle. You don't have to follow trends, to be yourself. This is something that I advocate a lot as well. And of course, checking the composition of fabric, and just to be more mindful and trying to educate yourself where the clothes are made. This is really, really important. But yeah, like I said, there are so many things to be considered when it comes to food or fashion. It's never, 100% perfect.
No, 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 definitely not. But the only thing we can do is try and learn and make the effort to educate. If we're doing that, then that's better than 99% of the population.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Look, I just wanted to ask you a quick question, because what I hear a lot from people trying to change their lifestyle, and that might probably be applicable to other areas, not only to becoming vegan or to choosing plant-based diet. Did you face any criticism or resistance from your friends and family? Just do you remember the time when you mentioned that you are going to switch to a different lifestyle? What were their reactions? Were they supportive, or did you face any challenges?
Yeah, that's it's a very good question. I think it's a question that most people face when they change their lifestyle. I think first and foremost, it's because it highlights. So for the person that's questioning, I'll get into my experience in a second, but for the person that's questioning, it highlights a gap, or it highlights something that internally they don't feel comfortable with. So for example, and we see this a lot in when we're explaining veganism to people, is most people are very kind and caring. Most people care about animals. They don't want animals to suffer. They don't want any humans to suffer, but they almost switch off that part of their brain when we're talking about, beef or meat or any kind of animal product. And it's because a lot of the time it highlights something in them that they love the food that they're eating, but they're just not ready to give up the food that they love so much. And it creates this like a cognitive dissonance. And it's very interesting to see. And it's actually a very beautiful process if you ever get to experience it, of breaking down the walls of someone who has these societal beliefs and they have these intrinsic beliefs. And yeah, in terms of my experience, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I came from a family who dad is a very talented person, very creative, has done lots of things in his life. But one of the things he did when he was young was he trained as a chef in Bordeaux, France. And so his love, very random, but his love language was food. So as a family, we would eat amazing French food, like very rich. He's a very good cook as well, very rich food, but it was every single meal was cream, meat, fish, cheese, blah, blah, blah. You get the gist. So for him, when I mentioned I was going vegan, it was like, not only like, why would you want to not eat this, but also he's a generation older than me. And for this generation, they grew up in a place where agriculture wasn't an issue, because they were having meat a few times a week if they could afford it. There wasn't this mass scale farming that there is now. So it's a double whammy, because he doesn't understand, because his experience of the animal agriculture industry is not what we face today. And then there's also this, as I said, he was a foodie, so it was a bit of a problem. But I didn't really get resistance from my parents. My parents have always been very supportive, do what you want to do. But on social media, that was a whole different story. When and I'm in the fitness industry as well. So, protein and animal protein, and that builds muscle and everything. That was very much that mentality. So when I went vegan 7 years ago, I think I was a weirdo in people's eyes. It was like, you can't be fit and strong and vegan. Like, why would you want to do that? That lifestyle's so restrictive. You don't know anything about bodybuilding. And I would have these hateful comments on my posts on my YouTube about like protein, and how like I knew nothing as a trainer and a nutritionist. And people are so regimented in their beliefs. So from strangers, I got a lot of hate, especially online, because people like to up and show that they know so much and they just want to flex. But from my family, it was okay. I still get the occasional, like my father really doesn't understand it. He asks me if I could eat olive oil. He asks me if some fruits are vegan. It's quite sweet. And I have to educate him. But it's been interesting. They eat more vegetables and I eat more vegan now than they ever have in their entire life, because I think a part of me has influenced them in a positive way. So, they're definitely not vegan, but they are very conscious of their food. They wouldn't buy supermarket meat. They live on an island, so they buy wild caught. And I used to care a little bit more about it. Now I don't. Now I realize it's my mission to just, build that thick skin and try to educate people where they're interested. And I would say overall, that's been my experience. I've got some really good friends. I found a good community-ish. especially online. Dubai's a little tricky because it's not quite mainstream here yet, but it's becoming much better than it was 7 years ago. There's many more places that do vegan options. The last, I'd say, 3 years on Instagram, the plant-based sphere has just boomed. People are more interested, and I think it's only going in the right direction.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Well, I would love to chat with you about the recipes you post, but just in a second, because I have a lot of other questions, especially because you mentioned that a lot of people were telling you that you can't be fit. And obviously you're an athlete as well. You live such an active lifestyle. So do you get enough, let's say, of protein, vitamins by being on a plant-based diet?
Yeah, I mean, look, my blood work has never been better. Blood work is a very great indication. It's not the only indication, but it's a very good indication of your overall health. It gives you an insight what's going on in your body, how you're absorbing nutrients, how you're responding, your energy levels, etc. My blood work's never been better. There's different ways to be vegan. You can be vegan and be very unhealthy, just like you can be an omnivore and be very unhealthy, just like you can be a carnivore and be very unhealthy. And I think that when you go vegan, it's in your best interest to learn a little bit about nutrition, to learn what your body needs. And it's really frustrating that they don't teach this in schools. Like they don't teach basic health and looking after yourself in schools. So I think as an adult, especially now, you just have to take control of your own health. It's not as overwhelming as people think. You just need to eat a lot of variety, lots of legumes, lots of vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds. Try to stay away from processed things. And it's amazing how easily you can meet your nutrient requirements without, making a spreadsheet of all the supplements and stuff you need to take. There are a few things that are good to take just because they're not as well absorbed in a vegan diet. So for example, you'd want to take a B12 supplement because B12 is not found in plant-based food. It's only found in soil. So that's how meat eaters get it. But vegans, obviously, we don't eat meat and we don't eat soil. So that's one of the things. And yeah, I find it absolutely no issue whatsoever to get exactly what I need. I get more than enough protein. I average, honestly, without even trying, I average around 110, 120 grams of protein a day. I could find ways to have 150, 160 grams of protein. I don't feel a need to do that. But what I'm trying to say is that everything need or require in any given circumstance, you can reach on a plant-based diet. Good to do research, good to understand if you need these supplements specific to your own blood work and how your blood work comes out, because there's no point in taking supplements if your blood work is fine. It might be a good backup, but there's no point to have 10, 20 supplements if you're absolutely healthy. There's really no need. So yeah, from a macro and a calorie and an energy level, absolutely no problem. I eat like 50%, 60% carbs, which is great. Love carbs. Got no problem there. And protein is very easy and fat. So yeah, and I love that I get to eat super healthy. Like everything I eat has nutrients. Everything is nutrient dense and it gives you so much more energy and fueling your body is through plants is just extraordinary because everything you eat is just quality. Like it's a game changer for your energy, for your skin, for your overall health, for your longevity. So many benefits.
Yes, I definitely heard a lot about health benefits. I've been actually watching some video podcasts recently, and a lot of people advocating for longevity, healthy lifestyle actually turn out to be vegan. And I think this is something that says probably a lot about the lifestyle people choose when they start to care about their well-being and, want to live a bit longer. But I just wanted to ask you a quick question. What actually prevents me, for example? I have iron deficiency. I'm not sure if I should better to talk to, different kind of specialists. But for example, what I was told is that with iron deficiency, it's really complicated to be on a vegan diet only. Did you have any clients with similar cases, or what would be your, perspective on that?
Yeah, so it's true that the body absorbs animal-based iron better than it does plant-based iron. However, it's not always about, quantity. It's about availability and it's about absorption. So if someone is, listen, I'm not a doctor, so it's not this is just speaking from experience. This is not general advice to anyone. But if someone is iron deficient, it's not necessarily that they're not reaching their iron requirements. It could be something in their body that is preventing them from absorbing the iron, or they're not having the right kinds of iron. I manage absolutely fine with vegan iron. Like, I get everything I need. But for example, for some women, if they have a particularly painful menstrual cycle, or if they have complications with their menstrual cycle, if there's heavy bleeding, etc., then it can be hard to restock that iron. So it might be that they need a bit more of a tailored approach. Some people might benefit from an IV, like with many different things, with vitamins and minerals. It depends on the body and how it responds to certain minerals and vitamins. It can be something, in your body that is also competing for the same absorption alongside iron. So, it's everyone is different and everyone needs to take a tailored approach because this is a medical issue. If routinely, you show that either you have iron deficiency or you're anemic, that's definitely something that needs to be dealt with by a medical professional. But in theory, for an average person, you can meet the iron requirements needed on a plant-based diet. If you struggle to get it just through food, then you can also have a supplement on the side. If that supplement on the side doesn't help, then yes, you might want to go down different avenues. But it's worth noting as well that this problem isn't exclusive to plant-based diets. I know plenty of people, and it's definitely a common problem in women, the iron deficiency. I know plenty of people who eat everything, who are omnivore, and they still have iron deficiency. Yeah. So really about looking at your body individually, looking at, how well you're absorbing, how much of the, dark leafy greens you're eating, or if you're an omnivore, what other sources you have of iron, and just assessing from there and getting your doctor's recommendation on the best way to get iron, but also absorb that iron more effectively.
Yeah, I think that this tailored based approach and listening to your body and how your body responds is definitely what everyone should be looking for whenever they're planning to switch on a different diet or they're planning to do more sport activities. It's really about listening to what your body needs. And I know that a lot of people are struggling with that.
Yeah.
Quite often what we see is that, oh, my friend is doing this, so I will probably do the same. She eats this, that, and I will simply, just follow her. So what would be your advice to anyone who's looking to, to move to a different lifestyle, let's say a vegan or plant-based diet, but they literally don't know where to start because there is nobody in their surroundings doing that. There is a lot of criticism happening around. So what would be your first step to advise to those people?
I think it's important in that situation when you want to change something about your lifestyle to understand why it is you want to change that. So for example, let's just take the example of being vegan because that's easy and that's what we're talking about. If Sally wants to change from an omnivore diet to a vegan diet, why does Sally want to change? Is it because it's trendy on Instagram? Is it because her brother John did it and his blood work and his cholesterol came out really well? Is it because she cares about the environment? Is it because she cares about animals? I think it's very, very important, first off, like unrelated to the results, to understand why it is you want to change, because then you have your driver and then you understand, when times get tough and you want to quit and you want to change and everything, it keeps you grounded. So then once she's figured it out, she knows, I want to transition because I hear that it's better for my health. Okay, great. So then her next best step is to learn about how to eat properly for a vegan lifestyle, what parameters she needs to meet. So, and as well, I know we're going back to blood work, but I really recommend blood work for everyone, vegan or not, every 6 months. It can cause problems and it can have a ripple effect. So it can start affecting other organs and it can create problems that never needed to be there in the first place. So that's why it's so important. So yeah, so she would start to read books. She would start to read, a good quality books focused on research. She would start to read journal articles. She would start to listen to podcasts of experts who know what they're talking about. And then she can kind of get an understanding of what she needs to do to reach optimal health. I think the trap is in this example is when someone sees something online and they're like, oh, plant-based looks aesthetic and plant-based looks really nice. I'll just try it and I'll just follow what this person's eating. But on social media, as we know, what happens on social media is not real life. So if someone posts, this is what I eat in a day, and blah, 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 to feel my best and to lose weight and stuff, like lots of impressionable people might copy that, but it might be absolute rubbish. And the people that are posting that are not always qualified. They're not qualified nutritionists. They're not qualified in any sense related to what they're posting. So it's very important to find why you want to change, if you want to change something about your lifestyle, and have an understanding and take control of your own health. You can't just copy someone, like you said, do the same exercises, eat the same things, and expect it to have exactly the same result, because everyone's body is different. You don't know if that person's really even eating that. I've seen that so many times on social media where people say, I do this workout or I eat this way. And then we find out 6 months, a year down the line, that they weren't ever doing that. It was just for social media because it looked nice. So there really is this element of autonomy and taking control of your health and learning and studying, even if it's not extensive, just getting the basics and then rolling with that and using your own experience to shape your action.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I thank you for pointing this out, that social media is not the reality. And we really need to be careful about what we see online.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to remind about this to ourselves every single day.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
So,
And social as well. Sorry, like just with food, with nutrition, with training and everything, but also, I've been in a lot of environments where we'll be shooting content or we'll be doing something with a lot of influencers, and it will literally be like, people will just be sat there like really like moody, like not, no energy or whatever, not looking like they're having a good time. And then they'll pick up their phone and they'll be like, start recording themselves in this happy thing. And it just makes you feel like, is everyone happy apart from me all the time? Is everyone living this great life? And it's just like, no, like influencers put on a show for the camera so that they have this aspirational lifestyle of like, they've made it and they have all their, they have their life together and everything. So I think it's so important that we really remember that what we see online is just, you have to take it with a pinch of salt.
Exactly. And I think this is what I really like about the content that you post, to be honest. You're very authentic. Well, I live a very busy lifestyle and, sometimes I want to prepare better meal for myself, but at the same time, I have 100 meetings happening during the day. And you're just like, oh my gosh, it's really hard to find the right balance until you're clear about your priorities, I guess. And this is where, when you start understanding your why.
Yeah, clear about priorities. But let's be honest, we live in a world, especially in Dubai, where you can have the best intentions. You can set all your priorities, but you still have to work. You still have commitments. Like it does come down to what your priority is, but I don't want anyone to think that if they don't have everything together, that it's because they're not trying hard enough or because they don't have their priorities straight. Like, we are in such a strange world where the hustle is really real, but also in Dubai, it's accelerated. So, if you don't have everything together, that's fine. Just keep trying. Like you said, I want to make better meals for myself. Like, you won't be able to do that every single day. And that's fine. As long as you're trying where you can and where you have the ability to do so, then you're doing so much better, and you're helping yourself, rather than just saying, I can't do it at all, or I can't do it 100%, so I'm not even going to try. You have to give yourself credit for the little things as well.
Oh, that's definitely very encouraging. Thank you.
Sure. The women that I work with and have worked with for the past, 7-8 years, like even the ones that have, a lot of help at home, they have, maids and cooks and stuff. They still struggle because no one is perfect and everyone has a lot of things to do, especially in Dubai. So even the ones that have all the help in the world still aren't getting it 100%. So the ones that obviously have a lot less help, like, you have to be kind to yourself. You have to recognize that you are trying. And just a little bit is so much better than taking care of yourself, is so much better than just saying, I can't do it. I'm going to give up. So just keep going.
Amazing. Thank you. That brings a smile to my face because, well, I think that this is probably a lot of people are struggling with. We're trying to jump from 0 to 100. And this is where, like, if we are not achieving this 100, we start to feel like, we're not enough. And I think this is definitely such a trap that prevents from starting and moving forward and trying to be consistent.
That 100 every year always gets pushed. So what might have been good enough or great 5 years ago, now, no, you have to have your nutrition perfect, but you also have to be doing sauna, you have to be doing recovery, you have to be doing meditation, you have to be doing journaling, you have to have a side hustle, you have to be doing this, you have to be non-toxic. Like, it's ever expanding and it can be so hard to keep up, and the benchmark constantly shifts. So for people, who are just trying to do their best and they're trying to get everything under control, it can be really challenging mentally and physically.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. To wrap this conversation up, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions related to trends into plant-based nutrition and, plant-based diet. Is there anything that you are excited about?
I think, and there's a few things, for sure, that are exciting. One of the things is obviously it's a growing movement. So more and more people that are open to trying it. It's becoming more mainstream and accepted, which means that societally, restaurants will be offering more options. Places will be more vegan friendly. I don't know if you've seen the shift now on cosmetics and clothes and things. A lot of things are labeled as vegan friendly just to attract, that demographic of people. I think that's exciting. Whether or not it's being used to make more money through marketing reasons is another aspect, but at least the world's perceptions towards veganism are changing. There's a few other things such as the pet industry. For me, being an animal lover, and I have 5 animals myself, it's not shifting, but there are new people coming onto the market, and the vegan pet food industry is growing. So that means that I think around at the moment, 40% of the animal agriculture industry produce goes towards pet food. So that is such a huge chunk that obviously we can reduce by incorporating plant-based pet food. So for me, it's very exciting because we're seeing new players come onto the market. They're selling, plant-based proteins. They're selling vegan pet food. And that takes such a big percentage away from demanding animal proteins for food. So that's very exciting for me. And obviously as a vegan as well, I want to be able to give my animals, something that's in alignment with me, as long as it's nutritionally right for them. So yes, for me, that's very exciting. And I think the third one is lab grown meat. So at the moment, it's not something that I would personally be interested in consuming myself. But for a lot of people who don't want to give up meat, but also have a conscience about the environment and animals and things, I think it's a good step forward and a good transition into, okay, I'm not going to give up meat, but I'm also not going to contribute to suffering. And that's a great middle ground that's come such a long way, and it's getting so much investment, where we've come up with a solution that means you can have your cake and eat it too. So you can have your meat, but you can also have the fact that you're not contributing to animal suffering and deforestation, which I think is very exciting for the big population of people that don't want to give up on their meat and their animal products. So I would say there's a lot of things in the sphere, but these 3, I think, are probably top of my list.
Oh, that's very exciting. I haven't heard about the last one, to be honest. That could be really such a game changer in the industry, but also helping people to be probably on a better transition once they decide to adopt a new lifestyle. That's definitely exciting.